Hey mamas, welcome back to Kolor Me Mama. Thank you for joining. If this is your first episode and first time experiencing, or you just stumbled upon this podcast, Kolor Me Mama is a podcast and a series dedicated to Black mamas who color outside of the line. So if you're a mama that, drums to your own beat and follows the beat of your own drum, you color outside of the lines, you do things your way. Alternatively, this is a place for you. I thank you for joining. We're going to get right into it. This is episode 3, Allergic Reaction to America.
Those of you that are caught up from episode 1 and 2, you know that I just returned to America after being in Tanzania for 2.5 months with my husband, my infant, and my toddler. So we were there on a exploratory trip, I would call it, and it was it was nothing short of amazing. It was purifying, and as purifying as it was equally awakening. I have been back in America for almost a month now, and my return and my experience being back after experiencing life over there with my family, it's been really jarring. It's been jarring, it's been triggering, it's been suffocating. My experience in Tanzania, it definitely gave me an awakening overall of America, but specifically beginning that it's really hard for me to see my life here as a Black mother. I'll take you through the experiences that I have experienced since being back. I'll say this. Coming back from Tanzania, I cried, first of all, leaving. And I knew I was sad to return, but I didn't prepare myself for how jarring, triggering, and suffocating returning back to America would be. I truly just didn't expect it. I had such an awakening while there in Tanzania, and now juxtapose my experience with being back here. It has made it pretty clear to me that any possibility of me living my life full time as a Black mother in America is just, it's not it. I'll take you through my experiences in almost a month and being back step by step. We first arrived to California with returning. Like I said in the previous episode, I just moved from California to the South, and I just had some business to close out there. And anyway, it's just less complicated to fly back into LA from over there. From the minute we got off the plane and into the airport, just in the air, there's just I can't fully articulate it to you, but just the air is different. To us getting out to our car, the driver that picked us up didn't even want to help us with our bags. Like, if you've ever been to LAX airport, it's a madhouse anyway. Although it is getting a little better. They've expanded it, but it still has not improved as far as the pickup curve. The driver that was picking us up didn't want to help us with our bags. He barely got out the car at first, and then he did get out. And my poor husband is schlepping. We had a lot of bags. Mind you, I said we came back from Tanzania for almost 3 months. So with 2 babies, we had a lot of stuff. My husband is schlepping things from over the curb, over to the car. And this man is not even trying to help. And so that immediately was just yeah, in Tanzania, that wouldn't even be the experience. People are like falling over to help you. Um, and so anyway, when we got in the car, his attitude sort of kind of lightened up, but it wasn't that friendly. He was like a Middle Eastern man. I don't know exactly where he was from, but he was a brown person. Which immediately, when I say that I had an awakening in Tanzania, not that I've not been conscious before. I don't think had I been as conscious as I am as a person that I would have even took an exploratory trip to Tanzania, right? But being over there awakened me in such a way that I am so sensitive to everything that I see. It's like a film has been like taken off of my eyes, so I see everything in a different, I won't say in a different way, but just it's easier to just pick it up right away, right? And so this is a brown person, and immediately I was reminded in my mind of our relationship with brown people as Black people. Our relationship with brown people here in America is shaped also by white supremacy. Because I have been to other countries of brown people, of Southeast Asia and Latin-speaking countries, and I don't experience that at all. But white supremacy shapes us in this way, or shapes them in a way when they come over here, that they don't want to be aligned with us, because that represents a lower status for them, and they're so desperate to, and whether they know it or not, but to be accepted, that they treat us in ways that I know and I have seen that they just wouldn't treat white people, right? So that was the experience right away with that. He dropped us off, didn't say bye, thank you, just drove off. It was nasty and disgusting, like completely rude. Next up, as soon as we checked into our hotel, the girl that's at the front desk, she's just like on her phone, not her phone, but she's talking, she's doing something customer related, but she never like looks up, because this call is going on for a while. She doesn't look up and like, nothing. She's just taking a call. And I'm just like, wow, yo. So then she finally gets off the phone. She doesn't say, oh, hi, ma'am, welcome to such and such hotel. It's called the Lexington Hotel. I definitely will not protect their image at all. She doesn't say, oh, hi, this is the Lexington Hotel. This is the Lexington Hotel. Welcome. I'm sorry, I had to take that call. How are you? Nothing. It was just like, can I get your name? Type it in the thing. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Do you have a reservation? Okay, that would be such and such amount of dollars. Blah, blah, blah. Like, totally cold energy, right? I just tried my best. I couldn't ignore it because it was obvious, but I didn't respond to it. I just went ahead, checked into our room. Again, we have lots of bags, so we're using the, I don't know, what do you call it? We're using that, I don't know what you call that thing, that suitcase dolly thing, push cart. We get all of our stuff upstairs. I come back down to return the cart, and I guess where I put it is not where it goes, which I didn't know because my husband had got the carts in the first place. Either or, let's just say, no matter what, her response to me was completely unwarranted. She was like, oh, by the way, the carts, they go outside. Like, that's literally how she was talking to me. Like, they go outside. And I was like, okay, I didn't know. And I had it by this point, because like I said, homegirl was already ultra rude to me at the desk when we checked in. So I said, I have to say something. I said, your energy is very rude, especially considering you work at this hotel and I'm a guest in the hotel. And she goes, yeah, thanks for letting me know. Like, the sarcasm that I'm getting from this chick, I'm like, am I in the twilight zone? Like, I just really, part of me was like, I just can't believe what I'm experiencing. So I told her, I said, yeah, when she said that, sarcastic again, I was like, oh, so you don't care? And she goes, no, I don't care. I don't. And I said, wow. You will. And I walked off. I was just like fuming. And at the same time, I was like, God, was I not supposed to leave Tanzania? Like, I haven't even been back a full 2 hours. And the spirit of everything is just so disgusting. Back again to what I was saying, brown people. Again, it reminded me of how beautiful my experience was when I went to Mexico a couple years back and stayed there for an extended amount of time with my family. It was wonderful. The people, so lovely, so just beautiful inside and out. But I can't ignore that a lot of times our relations with them go like that. I know that if I was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman named Mindy, she wouldn't have told me that she didn't care. In fact, she wouldn't have been that rude. I just know it. I just know she wouldn't have. Anyway, of course, I went to go handle that situation with the manager and so forth and so forth. But not only did I not deserve that, but again, just juxtapose my experience in Tanzania, where there was such a culture of respect, of kindness, of gentleness, of peace. I was quickly reminded that capitalism, violence, just so many things in our culture have become such a film in the spirit of this place, right? After that, we were hungry, so we were like, okay, we're gonna get, we went to visit family, and, we were like, okay, what are we gonna order? I went to go order 2 medium-sized pizzas. How much y'all think them pizzas were? $60. 2 medium pizzas in Tanzania, I don't know, might have been $12. So again, I was just reminded of the cost of living here and how it is just really becoming unsustainable. And so next, we were like, okay, let's take my oldest to my gym, which my gym there in California is like, it's a gym like Gymboree or any of those other places. And so we took him there. We first took him to the location that we usually go to, and something happened with it where we got there and they had some emergency closing or whatever, they weren't open. So we were like, okay, let's drive to another location. We drove to another location. That's when I found out they were a franchise. I didn't know that they weren't all like owned by the same entity. They were a franchise. So we drove to another location. This location, basically their locations are not created equally. It definitely had a different energy and a different vibe in there. He was the only black kid in there. And there was this one dad in there that had his daughter. And it was like, this man, he needed his own damn playground. He did not want my son coming anywhere like near his daughter. And my son, he's newly 3. So you know how kids are when they see something they want, or they don't exactly know, like, okay, about waiting their turn or anything like that. So she was on a trampoline, and so he went like wanting to join her, but I guess she was so touch me not and scary, which I could completely understand. It's not her fault, but I think her dad he's heightened it probably for her. But it was just like, it was just a feeling in there. And then it was also heightened by the fact he was literally the only black kid. And I'll tell y'all, like, since having my first son, every time I have to go into these spaces, like these kid spaces, I get so much anxiety. Because I'm like, what Karen am I gonna have to check? What kid is going to like maybe do something that's not quite right, but it's not gonna be measured the same because they're white, my kid is black. It's just an energy and a nervousness that I just did not have to I just didn't feel while I was in Tanzania, that I just didn't have to deal with. That white gaze, that thought process that is not free, where I'm just existing. And if my child does something, I'm not like, oh, well, they looking at us crazy because of this, or I'm gonna have to check somebody. None of that. And so there were just these constant pinches that just kept eating away from me, just swelling in me, that just kept happening. But the experiences that I started to feel, they only started to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and the allergic reaction was getting worse. When we returned back to where we live now, I don't even think we were here for 2 days before I saw a Confederate flag. Which, by the way, them people that got those Confederate flags now are just punk ass. Because back when I was growing up, I definitely remember seeing Confederate flags, and then they was about it. They at least had the big ones flying through the wind. It was no mistake that they were racist. These, they got the little bullshit little ones on the back of bumper sticker kind of things. That's what this had, and it was just a reminder, like, oh yeah, I'm not in Tanzania anymore. After that, we went to a park, and I was excited when we pulled up to this park, actually, because we were the only family. Nobody was there. We were the first family there, and it was a small little park, so we're there. I don't even think we were there a full 4 minutes before I see another family coming up, white couple with a child, maybe a year younger than mine, but somewhere around the same age. As soon as she started walking up, my son was like so happy to see her, of course, like, oh, I have a friend to play with. And he has this big smile on his face and like walks up to her, and her dad just like pulls her to the other direction, like, oh honey, let's go play with this. If you haven't seen my son, first of all, he is the bee's knees. He's absolutely like the cutest thing. He's very smart. And not that I even have to explain these things for why or should not, but most people, he definitely pulls in a lot of attention. Like when we go places, people are like, he's so cute, oh, he's so smart, he's so whatever. And so he wanted to play with this little girl, and it was clear that her dad did not want that. And it was the oddest thing in the world. I'm talking about a little park, y'all. We were literally the only people at the park. And every time the little girl went towards my son, tried to play with him or anything like that, her dad would steer her in a different direction. And you could feel the racism through his pores. Usually I will say, and for the most part, when I go to playgrounds or so forth, even though it doesn't stop me from being anxious of the possibility of something going wrong, usually for the most part, parents, they're kind. Hi, how are you? Oh yeah, how old are you? No, this guy made no conversation, which I don't care, I ain't gonna be his friend either. But it hurt me so bad because it was clear as day that he was a racist. You could just see it in his face. It was just like disgusting, and he just didn't want my son anywhere near his little daughter. Simultaneously, as that's happening, I see a pickup truck pass by with a Confederate flag, one of the little punk Confederate flags on. And I was like, oh, this is the area we're in. Because at the time, we actually weren't in the area that we live in. We were kind of driving around, and we were like, oh, let's just stop at this park. And immediately after all of this happened, I was so mad at myself because I was like, Ashley, don't you know where you are again? You can't just be going to any park. I need the damn green book. And if you don't know what the green book is, Black people, look that up. But I was like, I need to start truly not just being like, oh, I can go anywhere, especially when my kids are involved. I need to kind of like better know the area. And because this town is only like 20 minutes outside of, the town that we live in, it's just one I hadn't been to, I thought, it would be nearly the same, but no. That experience. And as I was thinking about it, and I was actually telling a friend about it actually back in Tanzania, I was like, there's no real resolve to these type of situations, right? Because going into an all-white neighborhood with my kid presents possible danger. But then an all-black neighborhood does as well. Because the violence that could possibly take place there, and not because as a whole as black people are violent or anything, but just because, again, of white supremacy, the construct of white supremacy and what has been created in our neighborhoods that definitely have created a legacy of fighting each other and all that kind of stuff. But the gun violence in America, period, no matter where you go, is out of control. And so it's like, well, where do you go? After that, we took my son to a museum, and it was, fairly diverse, and so that was fine until, of course, there's always going to be one little thing. So we're at this particular part of the museum that's free play, and it's like this huge, what do you call those things? Not tic-tac-toe. I can't think of the name, but the things where you put the little circles in, and then you can let them out, and you gotta get all 4 in a row. Connect 4, that's what it is. Thanks, babe. Connect 4. There's this giant Connect 4. There's this little white girl playing there, and her mom is there helping her, and her mom, was nice. She greeted us, and so my son went to go pick up some, and I'm like on edge because I don't want him to mess up the game. The girl was there first. She's older. She's probably about 7. And so her mom goes to my son. She's like, oh, sweetie, you want to play? Here you go. Here's some. And so I was, relieved, but still cautious. But then she goes, you want to make Tegan really happy? Why don't you go ahead and put those in there? And white people do this kind of stuff all the time where they don't even have to be thinking really about what they're saying. I don't think she was thinking at all of how that came out or just the setup of any of it. I think she was just like, what can you do? Like, if you're here, you should be doing something to benefit, of my daughter's benefit. I took that little piece and put it elsewhere. But I'm also conscious in these situations that I really be wanting to check people, but then I also don't want to disrupt my son. One thing I am thankful for, my husband and I have talked about that a lot, is that these little things he's not aware of yet, right? But I know one day he is going to be. And that's what's going to bring me to really change my life around and live elsewhere, so that he won't have to experience this. Because as Black people, I think we've really come to a place, or have really, it's been passed down because of our existence here and because of the way we were brought here. Our whole existence here, our time here has been so much rooted in fighting. And I'm thankful for my ancestors. And when I say ancestors, I don't even mean just way back. I mean my grandparents. And what they did to push the next generation forward, to, give us a pedestal for the next step and the next step. But we're always fighting. And I think as long as we are here, that'll be what it is. And where my experience in Tanzania actually was like, oh, here I could actually just be Ashley. Like, I could just be a mom. Like, these things that I have to constantly worry about here, they have a film and another layer on top because of the racism here, because of the threat of violence and you know, what capitalism does here. But there, I could just truly be free to just be me. Not to have to be, you know, the black woman, and because I'm a black woman and because I'm a black mom, there I could just be, because everyone was black for the most part. And not only that, there was such a pride that I felt there, because there wasn't the white gaze of having to apologize for being who we are. We could fully be there in all of our glory with our hair, whether we wanted it locked, shaved, kinky, straight, our curves. First of all, the curves and stuff in Africa are, these build-a-bodies don't have anything on these curves. You go to Africa and you see the way that the women are built and shaped there. It's so beautiful. You're like, oh, that's what they've been trying to do here. But next, because we're here and we have to work for a little while, that's why we had to return. We're working on a project. You know, we were like, okay, well, we need to get a nanny, my husband and I. And when we started going through the cost of getting a nanny, I wanted to cry, because I felt like, well, how could I even, I'll say this. For anybody that is considering living abroad, and you first, I'll say this, anybody considering traveling abroad, right, with your family and experiencing life abroad while traveling, you need to be very aware of something. I'm going to warn you. Don't go and travel anywhere without being prepared that you may not want to come back. Because after you experience life over there, and I'm saying over there, not even specifically Tanzania, but just elsewhere outside of America, when you return here, it's just like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Well, if I experience such peace over there, why would I return to hell? Knowing that there's a world out there that welcomes me and opens up, you know, their arms to take me in with a hug. Why would I? If I know that I could go elsewhere and be treated like a king or a queen, well, why would I return here and be treated like trash? To say what? I live in America? Or to say, you know, my ancestors, they fought like hell. Yes, because they had to. But once we were free, we are truly free to leave the plantation. And that plantation being countrywide, we can leave the country. We can go elsewhere. I tell my son and my husband and I both, we're trying to teach him, you know, in the best way that he can understand at 3, but go where you're celebrated. Why don't we go where we're celebrated? Why don't we go where life can be more peaceful for us? I think we have become accustomed to a culture of pain that is almost uncomfortable to even like consider the idea that you could go elsewhere and not have to deal with that. It's unfathomable for some people to like, oh, well, I wouldn't have to like fight the power or fight. And I'm not saying that you're not going to go anywhere else in the world, whether it's any country in Africa, there is going to be some challenges. There are challenges, period, on earth. But for me specifically, I am open and ready for new and different challenges. Shortly after us being back, I had $1 laid out somewhere, and my son picked it up. So I'm learning, you know, I'm teaching him to count money. he picked up the dollar, and I was like, oh, what is that? And he goes, $1. And I was like, oh, you want the dollar? And I went to give it to him. I was so proud that I was giving him, some money. Here you go. Here it goes again with that allergic reaction, y'all. I couldn't even give my son the dollar without having that tap. And I looked at the dollar, and it was a white man's face on it. And immediately my mind went back to being in Tanzania, where when I was learning the currency over there, and their currency is in shillings. They don't have any European faces on their money. The faces on their money are either of animals, because Tanzania is really popular for their safaris, or all Black people. Their founders are Black people. And so on their money, you see Black men on their money. Their president is a Black woman. And I thought about it, and I said, they're so smart. Even the thing that's the most valuable thing here, which is money, right? It has a white man's face on it. So unconsciously, it's teaching you, even from the beginning of its existence, it's programming you to that they are more valuable. They are the most valued. They are the highest. And it just made me sad. But it also made me happy that I know that there's a world out there where my son can pick up a coin or pick up currency. And the people, the imagery that are on that currency, they look like him. When I went to Tanzania, I was certainly prepared to love it because I had been researching it actually for 2 years. And I was happy that it exceeded my expectations. But I just was not prepared. I'll say this, I was prepared for it to have the impact on me that I'd say, oh, life in an African country is a possibility. But I didn't prepare for the experience to be so life-changing that it made it clear to me that America is not a possibility for my family anymore. It's just not. The culture or lack thereof, the violence. I was in the grocery store the other day, and walking in the grocery store, I was like, I wonder, with all these mass shootings that have taken place, are eventually people gonna start wearing bulletproof vests? I know it sounds crazy, and it's ridiculous that I sound crazy, but it makes a lot of sense, because you can be somewhere, a grocery store, a movie theater, church, a synagogue, and the possibility of getting your brains blown out is not like that low, because we see it and it's happening here weekly somewhere in our country. There are people in Tanzania, in the part that I was specifically, that's what I can speak to, that have never even seen a gun. The police there don't even have guns. Maybe some of them do, but I think you have to be like a certain level of a police officer. So, but just a regular like routine traffic stop or you getting a ticket, there's no threat of your life. And in fact, the people that are pulling you over look like you. You know, a lot of times we talk about how we want our children to have the best childhoods ever, while, you know, we want to give them the best chance that we can. But as Black people, I think, and it makes sense why, because of generations and generations, the culture of sacrifice has been passed down to us. But I think we need to kind of reevaluate what we think sacrifice is. Because there's sacrifice and then there's survival. And I feel like a lot of us are really just in survival mode. And when you think about survival, you think about danger. I'm trying to survive, right? You think about, fight or flight. I float or sink, swim or sink. I think as long as we are here, that is what it's going to be like for us. And not that we haven't made strides. I just think they get more creative, and what I mean by they, the construct of white supremacy, they get more creative in just how to evolve their system to keep us suppressed. And I realized for my two children to have the best upbringing that they could possibly have, a lot of that weighs on me and my husband. I mean, all of it weighs on me and my husband, but specifically the happier I am, the freer I am, the less stressed I am, I'm only gonna be a better mother to them, right? But if I got my head on a swivel, the depression of this place, the constant worry about safety here, I'm not necessarily living to my highest potential. So therefore, they could only go to a certain potential. It's just truly really become where this just doesn't make sense anymore. Part of my allergic reaction in being back in America, I feel like I'm almost in a dark comedy or drama, depending on how you look at it. But like when a character has had a breakup with someone and now they're going through that like depression stage of the breakup, and so they keep like they're doing certain things, drinking a cup of coffee, but they're imagining that person there, or they're reflecting on, oh, we used to drink coffee together, or they go and they see like a certain thing in the store and they pick it up and it reminds them of that person. That's what I feel like I'm going through with Missing Tanzania. Like, I didn't realize until now being back in America how ugly manicured America is as a whole. There are parts that are not like this, but as a whole, America is such a staged place. Like, the buildings, the overproduction of everything, where the neighborhoods are like, and the roads are all done in gray, compared to just this raw beauty that I experienced in Dar es Salaam with dirt roads. I miss coming back from the grocery store, riding in a bajaji, and looking to my left and looking to my right and seeing dadas, which dada means sister or like woman over there, carrying fruit on her head, or seeing a man, a kaka, a brother just, walking, carrying some stuff. Everything in Tanzania, at least through my eyes, looks like a picture. There's just a raw beauty, and where some people, could only look, if you have just such a capitalist mindset, you could only look at a place as Tanzania. It's like a third world country. Oh, there's dirt roads, and there are also many non-dirt roads. There are very developed places there as well, but I just miss the raw beauty that I saw there. I miss the way I grocery shopped over there. In fact, when I first went to Tanzania, I was going to like the grocery store there. And my driver there, he would never say anything, but I could tell he was just like, okay, it's kind of high doing this. But by the time I ended my trip there, I was totally shopping like a local, which shopping like a local, you go to on your road, like you can't walk a half a mile, quarter of a mile without seeing someone selling fruit, potatoes, some type of vegetables. I miss that because I knew, I miss shopping like that because I knew even with shopping, I'm buying my fruit and my vegetables from a black woman, a black man, a black farmer. I know that this does not have, this is not bad quality of vegetables. I know this is actually a real vegetable, a real fruit. Where in the grocery store and, with our food system here, where we have to question what we're even really eating here, right? I miss that. I miss that. I miss going into coffee shops there, and the art on the wall is made with images. They are images of beautiful women that I could identify with because they look like me. Black men that look like my husband, my father, my sons. I just miss it. I do. And I really just want to encourage anyone that is thinking about going to Africa, whatever country may be, go. Just go. Like a lot of people that I have told about my experience there, they say, oh, I want to go someday. I've always wanted to go. I want to go someday. But I feel like that someday is like never, but it's just something to say. Don't let that be you. I definitely am an advocate for people living their best life in wherever and whatever that may look like. But I just encourage you to go somewhere where you're celebrated. And so I would definitely say the side effect of going to Africa and then returning to America has been hard.